Across the vast and diverse cultural landscape of Africa, one of the most profound and enduring spiritual traditions is the veneration of ancestors. In many African societies, the dead are not considered gone. Instead, they remain spiritually active, closely intertwined with the lives of their descendants. Ancestor worship is not merely an act of remembrance. It is a vibrant and sacred ritual that reaffirms the interconnection between the living and the dead, between the material and the spiritual, and between the past and the present. These ancestor worship rituals, ranging from daily prayers and food offerings to elaborate community festivals, serve as sacred moments where individuals and communities pause to acknowledge, honor, and seek guidance from their forebears. Through ritual, the invisible is made present, the spiritual is embodied. This essay delves deeply into the sacredness of these rituals, exploring their symbolic meanings, regional variations, socio-cultural functions, emotional resonance, and spiritual power. At the heart of African traditional religion is a belief in the continuity of existence. Life does not end with physical death, it transforms. The deceased, particularly elders who lived ethically and contributed to their communities, are believed to become ancestors, spiritual guardians who continue to influence the lives of the living. This worldview challenges the binary of life and death. It instead posits a cycle of being, where birth, life, death, and spiritual continuation form a continuum. Ancestors dwell in the spirit world, often imagined as close to the earth but invisible to human eyes. They maintain awareness of earthly affairs and have the power to bless or punish their descendants based on moral conduct and ritual observance. In this philosophical framework, ancestor worship rituals are sacred not only because they honor the dead, but because they sustain a cosmic balance. They are acts of spiritual reciprocity, descendants give offerings, praise, and remembrance. In return, ancestors provide protection, fertility, wisdom, and justice. Ancestor worship rituals are deeply varied across African societies. Yet they often share several core elements. Libation is one of the most common and symbolic forms of ritual. Water, palm wine, or other liquids are poured onto the ground while speaking to the ancestors. This act represents communication with the earth and the spiritual realm. The poured liquid feeds the ancestors and symbolizes the flow of life and remembrance. Families prepare food or place symbolic items, tobacco, kola nuts, traditional cloths, on ancestral altars. These are meant not only as gifts but also as means of spiritual connection. The food offered is usually the kind the ancestor enjoyed in life, underlining personal connection. In some traditions, animal sacrifices are made. The spilling of blood is believed to open spiritual pathways, renewing the bond between the living and the dead. Sacrifices are not acts of violence but of sacred exchange, asking for blessings or intervention. These rituals often include chants, recitations of the ancestor's name, or praise songs that recount their deeds. This oral tradition preserves memory and keeps the ancestor spiritually alive. In some communities, especially among the Yoruba, Igbo, and Dogon, ancestral spirits are invoked through masked dancers during festivals. These dancers are believed to embody the ancestors, and their appearance is treated with reverence. Family homes often include a shrine dedicated to ancestors. These are spaces of meditation, ritual, and remembrance. Sacred objects are placed there and maintained with great care. The Yoruba believe in a pantheon of spiritual beings, including Egungun, the collective spirits of ancestors. Annual Egungun festivals are held where masked dancers embody ancestral spirits. These are moments of celebration, but also moral reflection, as the Egungun often deliver messages from the ancestors. Among the Akan, ancestor worship is a deeply familial practice. The Abujua holds collective responsibility for rituals. Ancestors are consulted during naming ceremonies, marriages, and disputes. Offerings and libations are key rituals, and shrines are maintained with care. The Shona believe that ancestors reside in the spirit world but influence the living. Rituals involve spirit mediums who enter trances to communicate with ancestors. Ceremonies include music, clapping, and drumming, creating sacred energy that facilitates connection. Dogon rituals are visually striking. Ancestors are invoked during funeral and agricultural ceremonies through masked dances. The Dhamma ceremony, for example, is a multi-day event where dancers in elaborate masks honor the dead and release their spirits. Each ritual moment is considered sacred because it is not just symbolic, it is effective. Participants believe that these rituals have real spiritual consequences. They renew spiritual bonds, correct imbalances, and ensure the flow of life force. Sacredness also stems from communal participation. These rituals are rarely private, they are shared acts that bind the community, reinforce lineage identity, and teach younger generations about values and history. Ritual space becomes sacred space, where time seems to pause, and another reality becomes tangible. Ancestor rituals offer more than spiritual significance, they provide emotional healing. In societies where oral memory is vital, rituals are moments to grieve, remember, forgive, and reaffirm love. Grief is processed communally. Memories are celebrated, not forgotten. Family traumas are addressed through ritual apologies and reconciliations. Hope and continuity are affirmed through prayers for future generations. Many African psychologists and anthropologists argue that such rituals have therapeutic power, acting as cultural therapy. In traditional African thought, time is not strictly linear, it is cyclical and sacred. The past is never over. Through rituals, the past is summoned into the present, and the present opens itself to the spiritual realm. Ancestor worship rituals are a core example of this nonlinear time. They compress time, allowing the living to speak with the dead, allowing old memories to resurface in new contexts, and keeping the wisdom of the past alive for present challenges. Modernity, colonization, urbanization, and the spread of Christianity and Islam have deeply affected ancestor rituals. Some communities have abandoned or modified rituals. Urban families may not have space for shrines or the means for elaborate ceremonies. Younger generations may see these practices as backward or superstitious. Yet in many places, ancestor rituals have adapted. Rituals are now done digitally, via online memorials or hybrid ceremonies. Some churches blend Christian belief with ancestral respect. In the diaspora, rituals are revived as a way to reconnect with lost heritage. This adaptability is a testament to the resilience of sacred moments. As identity becomes a central concern for people of African descent worldwide, ancestor worship has seen a revival. From African Americans exploring Yoruba spirituality to Caribbean practices like Vodun and Santeria, the core idea of ritual connection to ancestors continues to thrive. These sacred moments are no longer confined to the village, they are being reimagined in cities, on social media, and in spiritual movements that honor both tradition and transformation. Ancestor worship rituals in traditional African religions are not relics of the past. They are living expressions of belief, identity, community, and spirituality. These rituals are sacred moments because they encapsulate a profound worldview, that the living are never alone, that the dead are not lost, and that the future depends on honoring the past. In an age where so much is transient, fast, and disconnected, these rituals offer a reminder of what is enduring. Through prayer, libation, song, sacrifice, and storytelling, African communities continue to stand at the threshold between worlds, speaking to those who came before, and being guided into what lies ahead. Family is at the heart of African society, and within the framework of ancestor worship, the family plays a central role. Rituals are typically organized by family elders, who hold the knowledge of lineage history and ancestral expectations. These elders serve as ritual leaders, ensuring that the correct protocols are followed and that the spiritual link with ancestors remains strong. Children are often included in these rituals from a young age. Through storytelling, participation in libations, and observing sacrificial rites, they are socialized into a worldview where the dead are ever present. Family rituals teach moral responsibility and reverence. A child who grows up participating in ancestor worship rituals learns the values of respect, memory, duty, and humility. Rituals also function as moments of family reconciliation. Disputes within extended families are sometimes resolved only after an ancestral consultation or appeasement. The belief is that angry ancestors can disrupt harmony until descendants restore peace. Thus, rituals reinforce not only spiritual connection but social unity. In many African societies, gender influences how people participate in ancestor rituals. While male elders often lead public rituals and serve as priests or mediums, women are deeply involved in preparation, maintenance of shrines, and transmission of oral history. In matrilineal societies like the Akan, women play dominant roles in determining ritual agendas. Women are also often seen as spiritual intercessors. Grandmothers, especially, are believed to hold strong connections to the ancestral world due to their age and proximity to death. In some traditions, female mediums channel ancestral voices in trances, delivering messages and guiding ceremonies. However, colonization and the introduction of patriarchal religious systems have diminished women's ritual roles in some areas. In contemporary revival movements, there is growing recognition of women's historical and spiritual authority within ancestor worship. Ancestor worship rituals are often aligned with agricultural cycles, lunar phases, or commemorative anniversaries. For instance, harvest festivals may double as times of ancestor veneration, thanking the spirits for a bountiful yield. Death anniversaries are observed to renew remembrance. New Year or seasonal transitions are marked by rituals to seek protection and blessings. These time-marked rituals transform ordinary dates into sacred thresholds. They reaffirm the cyclical nature of life and the enduring presence of ancestors through seasonal rhythms. In some cultures, rituals must be done at specific times of day, sunrise or dusk, to ensure spiritual receptivity. This attention to timing adds depth to the sacred atmosphere of ritual moments. Ancestor rituals are not only about veneration but about moral accountability. In many African belief systems, ancestors are guardians of ethical behavior. They observe the conduct of the living and respond to moral failings with warnings, illness, or misfortune. Rituals are often used to address such spiritual consequences. A person who is chronically ill or unlucky may be advised to perform a cleansing ritual or offer an appeasement to wronged ancestors. The act is not seen as superstition but as a process of restoring moral and spiritual harmony. This moral function gives ancestor worship a powerful social role. It deters antisocial behavior, promotes honesty and generosity, and sustains a community-based ethical code. Sacred moments and rituals become turning points for personal and communal healing. Music and dance are integral to African ancestor rituals. They are not mere entertainment but spiritual languages. Drums, rattles, chants, and songs summon ancestral presence. Specific rhythms are associated with specific spirits or family lineages. During rituals, sacred music creates a trance-inducing atmosphere. Dancers often enter altered states, believed to be moments of spiritual possession or contact. The masked dancer is not just a performer but an embodiment of the ancestor. In sacred moments of dance and sound, participants feel transported. The communal energy of rhythm and movement opens doorways to the spirit world. These experiences are deeply emotional, often resulting in tears, laughter, or spiritual awakening. Every element of a ritual, from the layout of the shrine to the color of a cloth, carries symbolic meaning. Common symbolic items include white cloth, purity and spiritual openness; animal horns or skulls, power and ancestral presence; cowrie shells, wealth and divination; clay pots, the womb and earth. Ritual spaces are also carefully prepared. The home altar, village grove, or community shrine is kept clean, demarcated, and sometimes ritually opened before use. Participants may remove shoes or undergo purification to enter. Symbolism is the language of sacredness. Through these visual, tactile, and spatial cues, participants enter into a heightened state of awareness. The mundane becomes mystical. Traditional African ancestor rituals are often tied to the land. Ancestors are buried in family compounds or sacred forests. Rituals take place under ancient trees or near rivers, considered spiritually potent sites. This rootedness creates a sense of ecological reverence. To disrespect the land is to disrespect the ancestors. Many African communities treat groves, water sources, and burial grounds as sacred spaces, protected by taboo. In the context of environmental degradation, these beliefs are regaining importance. Sacred rituals become not only acts of remembrance but environmental stewardship. Protecting ancestral land becomes both a spiritual and ecological duty. Modern life presents challenges to ancestor worship. As African populations move to cities or emigrate abroad, traditional spaces and practices are disrupted. Urban apartments lack room for shrines. Young people adopt new faiths or secular values. Yet rituals have not vanished, they have adapted. Portable altars, simplified ceremonies, and hybrid forms of worship are common. In diaspora communities, virtual rituals and digital memorials are emerging. Urbanization may have changed the setting, but not the sacred impulse. People still seek to connect with their roots, seek guidance, and honor their ancestors in meaningful ways. In the Americas and Caribbean, enslaved Africans preserved aspects of ancestor worship through religions like Vodun, Santeria, and Candomblé. Despite colonial suppression, these faiths maintained sacred rituals centered on ancestral spirits. In Haitian Vodou, for instance, the Wa spirits often include deified ancestors. Rituals involve drumming, dance, possession, and offerings, paralleling West African practices. In Brazil's Candomblé, rituals honor orixás who also serve as ancestral figures. These traditions have created a vibrant, transatlantic spiritual world where sacred moments continue to bridge continents and generations. For diasporic Africans, ancestor worship is also a form of identity reclamation and resistance. In recent years, there has been a global revival of African spiritual systems. From African Americans exploring Ifa divination to artists invoking ancestral symbols, the idea of honoring the dead has gained renewed attention. Many young Africans and people of African descent turn to ancestor rituals to heal intergenerational trauma, reclaim indigenous identity, or balance modern stress with spiritual grounding. Social media platforms host rituals, discussions, and virtual ceremonies. These movements redefine sacred moments for new generations. The form may change, but the function remains: to connect, to remember, and to honor. Critics argue that ancestor worship is incompatible with modern life, science, or monotheistic faiths. Yet others see it as deeply ethical, offering lessons in gratitude, humility, and community responsibility. At its core, ancestor worship is a practice of remembering. It teaches that no one stands alone, that each person carries the legacy of others, and that life is sustained through honor and care. In an age of individualism and disconnection, rituals that root people in lineage and moral accountability may be more relevant than ever. Ancestor worship rituals are more than religious practices, they are sacred moments that bridge the visible and invisible, the living and the dead, the past and the future. They are acts of reverence, memory, ethics, and identity. In the libation poured, the drumbeat sounded, the mask danced, and the story told. African communities create spaces where time dissolves and spirit speaks. These rituals remind us that the sacred is not somewhere else, it is here, in the moments we choose to remember, to honor, and to connect. As long as people gather to speak their ancestors' names, light candles, pour water, or offer prayers to those who came before, the flame of sacred memory continues to burn.